Okay, I'd like to start off today by talking about this word, hole. Throughout my career with the Department of Corrections, I often found myself assigned to our segregation unit, also known as the hole. Now, for those of you that are incarcerated here or you work here, you're very familiar with this word. But for those of you visiting, I want you to know the hole is the place where people end up who can't follow the rules. And while the hole would figure prominently throughout the course of my career, that isn't actually the hole that I want to talk about today. The hole that I'm speaking about now is the one that is present inside of all of us. It's one thing that we have in common, regardless of race, sex, color, birthplace, or belief system. From the beginning of time, humans have sought different ways to fill this hole. In fact, this room is full of people who have made questionable decisions in that pursuit. I know what you're thinking, and before you start to judge, I want you to understand, I'm not actually talking about the incarcerated people in the room. That's right, all of us are one poor decision away from being a resident instead of an employee or a visitor. The people that we're sitting next to, they're no different than you or I. Before creating victims, most of these people are victims themselves of people who have been pursuing negative avenues to fill their own void. And so as I set out to write this TEDx talk, I thought about my life, my upbringing, and my career. I want to take you on a journey and help you understand what love has to do with who and where I am today. I grew up in a military family. Both of my parents were very influential in making me who I am. My father would suffer a serious back injury very early on in his military career and would have to deal with severe back pain his entire life. Now, they taught me lessons about showing up, owning up to your responsibilities, and taking care of the people you love. So my most vivid memory of our last duty station was my mom waking me up in the middle of the night and telling me my dad couldn't get himself out of bed because he was in so much pain. But it wasn't my mom waking me up or me helping my dad out of bed that I actually remember the most. Now, ironically, it's what I don't remember that still impacts me to this day. See, a few short hours later when I got up to go to school, I don't remember seeing my dad in the house. I also don't remember seeing his truck in the driveway when I left to go to school. Now, he had already actually gotten up and gone to work, even after the night that he had just experienced. So in August of 2023, I was tasked with coordinating a large-scale event, much like the one that you're attending today. And in the early morning hours of the day of that event, a major storm system rolled through our area, causing widespread power outages and also significantly damaging our home. But despite having no power, having the rain pouring in through the hole in my roof, having to leave my wife at home alone to deal with all of that, and having very little sleep throughout the night, I still showed up so that the event could take place. Now, like everyone else that you're going to see on stage today, I had to audition for this event as well. And when I told that story to our organizing team for the first time, about my dad anyway, they said, "We always wondered what made you show up that day, even knowing everything else you had going on in your life on the outside, and now we understand why. It's basically history repeating itself." Now, I don't tell the story about me showing up to brag on myself, because a lot of other staff also showed up that day too. I only tell that story because I wanted to show you that even 30 years later, the impact that my parents have had on my life is still affecting me in my daily life. Thank you. On August 1st, 1995, I began working at a local bank. Now, I don't remember that date because it's the date that I started a brand new job. No, I remember that date because it's the first time I would lay eyes on the woman who years later would become my wife, Jan. Give her a round of applause for putting up with me all these years. The first time I saw her, she was standing in front of a window at the bank. The sun was coming in, much like these lights are today. It was illuminating her from behind and casting this blonde aura around her face. I've never come that close to seeing an angel before. And I knew I was in trouble. But she was married. She had a young son named Chase. We would be coworkers, but eventually we would become friends. Now, several years later, that marriage would end, and I would take my shot. And believe me, no one was more surprised than me when she said yes, and we began dating. As Ann Rice, one of our TEDx coordinators, would astutely point out after meeting my wife for the first time, "You, sir, are punching way above your weight class with that one." And you know what? I have to agree. But because we had known each other for so many years already, we quickly became close, our relationship progressed quickly, and I knew that she was the one. I also knew I would do whatever it took to take care of her and Chase. So I began to seek other employment opportunities. What you may not realize is in banking, you don't actually make a lot of money until you reach a certain level. One of my brothers was a corrections officer at another prison here in Missouri, and he knew they were opening a brand new maximum security prison in the same town that I lived in. He suggested I go to work there as a corrections officer because at the time, that position paid about $6,000 more a year than I was already making. Seems funny now, after 21 years, but my first thought, I do not want to work in a prison. No way, no thank you. But bills needed to be paid, and I needed to find a way to support this new instant family of mine. So I applied, I tested, and I interviewed, and in October of 2002, I was hired as a corrections officer. I entered the institution a little apprehensive, a little unsure, and maybe a little scared. But the routine would soon take over, and the job, it would become almost robotic. I'm ashamed to say that I actually saw the incarcerated as not much more than nameless faces that I had to deal with every day. Now back then, the Department of Corrections really didn't give you a whole lot of raises, and so we were told to seek promotional opportunities in order to get those raises. So I began to attempt to promote. And as I promoted, I started to interact with the incarcerated population on a totally different level than I had as a corrections officer. They started to become more real to me as people, as I realized they have families and lives outside these walls the same way that I do. One time when I lost 2 family members within just a few days of each other and I was gone for the better part of a week, I returned to my office to find that several of the residents of the housing unit that I was assigned to had somehow found out and had gotten together and purchased a condolence card from the canteen. Each took a turn writing a note of encouragement and signing it, and they slid it under my door for me to find when I returned. That incident not only opened my eyes to further for our shared humanity, but also isn't something I will ever forget. My promotional track would lead me to corrections case manager. Now, case manager, that was where it was at. I really felt like you had accomplished something if you could achieve that position. And so all my efforts went to prepare myself for that. But due to changes in the position, it would take 7 very long years before I'd be able to realize that, but I finally made it. And I thought I had everything I ever wanted. But the hole inside of me, it still wasn't filled. I did everything I could think of. I helped more. I learned more. I interacted more. Still, something was missing. I felt like I had no purpose. Prison can be a dark place, especially working in maximum security. And without that purpose, I found instead of being the light in that darkness, I was being overtaken by it. My actions, my attitudes, and my behaviors had all deteriorated to the point where I finally had to take a step back and ask myself, how did I get here? And reevaluate my life, my career, and my commitment to my family and my faith. But my wife grabbed me by the hand and was instrumental in pulling me up out of that darkness, leading me back to that light in my faith. Her strength and capacity for love and forgiveness knows no bounds, and she is truly an amazing woman. And I'm proud to say that next month we will celebrate 21 years of marriage. Thank you. It hasn't always been easy, but we're still kicking. Yeah. So with all of that in mind, I thought maybe transferring to a lower level facility where people would sooner be going home, maybe that would be a remedy to that dark cloud and that lack of purpose that I was feeling. So in 2017, I transferred here, Farmington Correctional Center. And since my transfer, my overall outlook and my happiness has been vastly improved. In 2019, I was promoted to Case Manager 3, and I was assigned to our juvenile unit. Now, this position was of particular interest to me because I really felt like I could impact these young boys and help them become responsible young men by providing a positive male role model, education, and encouragement. And while I did find some satisfaction in that position, I still didn't feel like I had found my purpose. In 2022, I was asked to take over programs and to work in reentry. Now, I didn't know anything about reentry, and I really wasn't looking for a change. But as somebody who never backs down from a challenge, I said I'd give it a shot. And man, I'm so glad that I did. The work that we are doing to prepare the incarcerated for release back into society is not only very important, it's extremely rewarding. We are having a positive impact on our communities and actually society as a whole, because each person that we properly prepare to return to society means countless potential future victims are no longer at risk. And I am so thankful I get to be a part of it. Thank you, yeah. I experienced a lot of setbacks in both my life and my career, but looking back now, I realize they were actually set-ups to where I am today. I get to work with a great group of like-minded staff every day. Not only that, I work with a great group of incarcerated individuals who embody the word love, as their primary goal is to improve the lives of those who live and work at Farmington Correctional Center. Now, let's be honest, most of the time when someone who's incarcerated volunteers to do something, we as staff are generally like, okay, what's this guy really want? What's his angle? What's his motivation? But as I've worked shoulder to shoulder with this group for the better part of a year, I've come to realize they have no agenda except to improve lives and to be of service. And it is truly amazing to be a part of it. Thank you. Author and poet Albert Pike said it best: what we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others and the world remains and is immortal. If I had never taken over the position in the reentry center, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be involved in the things the way I have been. I wouldn't get the chance to do this kind of stuff. But there's a reason why your windshield is so much smaller than the rearview mirror. And it's because where you're heading is so much more important than where you've been. All right? Find your purpose. Get involved in positive things. Change the course of your life. So, we ask ourselves, what's love got to do with it? Well, I have parents that love me. I have a wife and son that love me. I have faith in a God that loves me. And now, I have a job I love. Right? That love makes me who I am today. And there's really only one word I can think of to explain it. Now I'm whole.